Thanks, Shami. One wonderful session. I think there's a lot of learning for each one of us. I'm Giri Muthukrishnan. I'm based out of New York. I've been here for the last 28 years. I'm the global CIO for Exforia Technologies, focusing on AI strategy, product expansion, and global growth. Prior to this, I was in global roles at banking financial services, where I led large-scale modernization and AI transformation. Okay. So we have a wonderful panel here. Compared to them, I'm the least knowledgeable on AI, which is why I'm the moderator, and they're all the speakers. So one of the topic, AI, as all of us know, AI is transforming humanity in many fields, from healthcare to aerospace to financial services. I think beyond the excitement of application of AI, one point that sticks out as a huge concern, and that's the topic of this session, right? How do we ensure there are enough guardrails, enough policies and controls? If you take a lot of the regulations, like if you take banking, for example, we have Basel regulation and all of that. Even for credit cards, there are regulations. So for AI, with the ubiquity of AI, how do we really put in regulations to make sure we don't create an unmanageable mess in the next couple of years? And to get some expert answers from this, we have three accomplished practitioners: Ms. Subaila, Mr. Abdul Ghani, and Mr. Nisar. So we'll start with Subaila. Subaila, if you can do a quick intro. We'll start with a quick intro, and then we have some specific questions for them to
ask. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Shiba, for this opportunity. Thank you, Giri. It's great to connect. Just a brief about myself. I have been in UAE about last 20 years and been into cybersecurity. So my forte has been into cybersecurity, upskilling, and solutions, which is end users, web vulnerability. And I have pivoted after COVID from an employee to an entrepreneur. That's a discussion for a different day. Back in the day when I started cyber, in fact, very few women in this region. And I was told by everybody that, what are you wasting your time in cyber? I mean, who needs cybersecurity training or upskilling or even understanding? We've got a firewall, we've got a 1 million investment. So, you're actually wasting time. We've come a long way from cyber. Today it's AI. And my perspective, my talk is obviously going to be linked very closely with AI, with cyber, because that's my main concern when we talk of ethics and as we proceed. And today's topic for our panel being that, is it really possible to have a uniform AI global governance, which I have a strong opinion about. So going forward, we'll share. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Subaila. Abdul, if you can do a quick intro.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Abdul Ghani Hijawi. Basically, I have over 2 decades working in the technology, cybersecurity, where I have delivered enterprise projects across various regions, starting in the Middle East, Asia, and the US. I also contribute in various industries such as hospitality, finance, banking, fintech, government, semi-government. Also, I do have experience and participate and work closely with tech startup and technology organization, with the full focus on cybersecurity, privacy, and end user, like adding value to the end user or organization, and so on. And lastly, now we are here obviously to share more insight about the latest trends, which everybody knows about the artificial intelligence, how to use it in a responsible way, where it could add value, where it has some maybe downside, and so on. Thank you.
Thanks. Nizar?
Hello. Hi, Mr. Nizar. Are you there? Just a second. Just take up the questions from others, and then if he comes, then ask directly questions. Okay.
Yeah, we'll proceed with that. I think he probably has some technical challenges. So the topic of like I said, the topic is about regulations and controls, right? So and how much of enforcement can we have on policies and regulations? So interestingly, when I was talking to one person last week, I went to meet a friend who had some mental health issues, and one of the things that he mentioned is one of the person who stays there is worried about AI. Okay, so worried about the impact of AI to his job, to his kids, and other things. And then he has mental health challenges, and he's depressed, right? So when we look at all of that, the ethics around AI and the controls. So Subaila, one thing is global regulation realistically achievable, right? Or because we see a lot of standardization that's happening, but we also see a lot of country level policies that come in. So do you think it's really achievable?
So I don't know, Giri, maybe my response disappoints some of the other panelists and the esteemed speakers, because I see so many doctorates around, and I am not one of them. But frankly, I do not agree to the premise that we can have an AI regulation which is global. There has to be an AI, and we heard this from some of the speakers earlier when I think Dr. Mansoor and the others were talking, that Saudi Arabia has its own sovereignty, data sovereignty law. UAE has another take on it. Of course, we know EU was the first one, and it's extremely rights-based, high risk, forbidden risk, medium risk, low risk. And then we have US, you're sitting there. I'm not going to divulge into the other happenings, but US, the law is extremely market driven. And we have China, then goes on to very strong centralized government control. India, I would say, is still grappling some points, but again, it has come to base its compliance around, especially on the AI, with data protection. And in all this, I feel that we need to have a baseline. I think you mentioned that the financial sector, the other sectors, we have Basel, we've got GDPR, we got PCI DSS. Now, it's not to, we've got SOC 1, then came SOC 2. Of course, we have ISOs. So it's not to say, and I don't think anybody would maybe say that, the SOC 1 is not good and the SOC 2 is better, or GDPR does its work, but PCI DSS, we don't need it. No. So where I come from and what my point of view is strictly that we can draw an overall baseline to say ethics. And I'm sure we all agree. Ethics comes from the word ethos, which is a Greek word. And the basis of that is, as we all know, is that it should be transparent and it should have fairness. You can explain it, and it should be secure. So, and in specifically AI terms, it should be a crowd team. If I can explain a little further, that the famous rule applies that the crowd kind of guards against it not being ethical. You include diversity. You include, of course, no gender bias, maybe unrepresentative cultural groups. So that will safeguard. Those are the guardrails. So coming from this, I definitely see it. As on date, if you see some of the stats, we've got about 1,000 AI policies, initiatives, over 70 countries. So to come to the point or come to a consensus that, okay, not overnight or gradually, we are going to have one uniform global AI compliance and everybody's going to be part of it, I think that's a little unrealistic. What will happen and should happen, I see 2026 as a decisive year, given and I'm sitting right here in a very uncomfortable kind of current economic situation, although UAE has done a lot and we feel safe. We are all expats, but we feel we've been born and brought up here. So there is an AI-based warfare. It's not simple, like many people earlier before me said. It's not that you shoot, you start in the morning and you end at night, you go to sleep and you say, okay, now we do it tomorrow morning. No, there are no boundaries. So given this scenario, we can have a baseline definitely in 2026, will have a baseline compliance, but each region, as per their cultural differences, UAE, EU, US, China, India, will need their own sovereign model for this to be absolutely ethical or have a meaning, when we are just not for saying that AI needs to be ethic, but it will be moving towards that. I may have taken a little more time, but I'd like to just cite a very small, very interesting example I read today morning. So this boy, aged 13 years of age, goes to his father and says, he's giving away his school uniform. So the father says, what are you doing? He said, I'm donating. You say giving and sharing is very good. He said, but how are you going to wear the uniform to school? He said, no, actually, I'm dropping out of school. He said, but what happened? I'm having my own startup. I said, startup? Do you even know? He said, yeah, I know I'm a little late. I'm already 13 years. I should have started, but ChatGPT has given me the full layout, the entire design, and I am going into a startup and I'm going to drop out of school. Now, where does compliance, global compliance, there has to be. So I'm sure no parent, no country would see this, that the workforce, the young generation, all these are supportive tools, but our basic education, that you cannot move towards dropping out of education or not doing so. There has to be that common, but every country will have its sovereign. Thanks.
Wonderful. I think that's a great summarization, Subaila. Gives a lot of insights. So if I quickly jump to Abdul, one of the things that a classic thing that I read in my MBA classes is when someone comes with a heavy a successful CEO from a very highly innovative company came to a company which had absolute process. They were world leaders in process, and this person failed there. Okay, because one company is based on waste, encourages waste. The other one discourages waste, right? So when we take that analogy, right? How can organizations really balance innovation, that the speed of innovation, with the demands around accountability, transparency, and compliance? Because one is a leader and one is a drag on speed. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. To be honest, this is more about leadership, basically, which means starting from the leadership side, like for example, from the business perspective, the company or the organization, they should focus more on how to create or fixing an issue rather, for example, speed up with innovation and so on. For example, in this perspective, innovation, I believe we don't have issue with the speed with the innovation. The challenge here from a leadership perspective, how to ensure, how to build the trust with the people or with the customer that utilizing this technology, which will usually start with the business leaders, and then start embedding the security, like security by design from day one, as also my peer mentioned about governance. And then you can start maybe once you build your service or product or platform, think about it as the hierarchy of an organization, right? In the hierarchy of in the organization, each department, it has, for example, its manager or head, there is supervisor, there is their team, and so on. So from this perspective, when you build your AI solution or AI module, especially in multi-agent environment, we should have these in place. Which means each AI module or agent, it's specifically for this use case. And you don't straight away give it like a fully autonomous. You start with a small use case. Once you ensure its success rate is very high, it's accurate, and so on, let's say 80%, 85%. Once you ensure that you can maybe start scaling with the solution, with the other agent, and so on. And for any critical or high risk, or maybe it could harm the people, the society, the organization, or any critical decision, we should ensure the human in the loop to view this and understand why this is happening. And then it's up to us whether we allow it, we decline it, and so on. Like for example, let's assume the flying taxi, right? So let's say now we have a flying taxi, right? I'm inside it. I said I want to go from this destination or from this area to another area. So imagine throughout my trip, some bad actors, they hijack the connectivity or the 5G connectivity for this particular service or vendor, right? So when it comes to security by design, when this has happened, the system must immediately ensure that this flying taxi land immediately in a safe place. So the bad actor, they cannot take the full control and then maybe send me to another area or destination that wasn't my final destination. So yeah, on the other hand, from my side, once you have these things in place, what I would like to also add, we live in a dynamic economy, dynamic world, and so on. So whatever we build, we must ensure that the fundamental or the foundation of the service or the platform is dynamic enough to cope with these changes. Previously, you could build a service or a platform, and maybe we can utilize it for the next 5 years, maybe for the next 10 years, and then it will become maybe a legacy and so on. Then you can integrate it with something or with any API services. But nowadays, with the AI that give us the speed, and sometimes it could compromise with the quality, it's making it more challenging to compete with your AI module or service. So once we have these pipelines or these fundamental in place that give us more flexibility to cope with this dynamic changes. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Yeah, great points. That actually reminds me of when I used to work for a large financial services company. From my house to the airport in India used to take 2.5 hours, and there was a flying taxi that was introduced. I went to my company and said, "Can I take flying taxi?" They said no, because it's neither under flight guidelines nor under ground transportation guidelines.
Right.
So that was eventually struggled for 8 months, and then COVID came and they discontinued the flying taxi service itself. So that's those are real life challenges that we have. So one of the things that I want to put it both of you, anyone of you can answer. That when we talk about governance, AI governance and policies, and the framing of all of these frameworks, do you think the public sector or the private sector should take the lead, or should it be some global body like Subaila, you mentioned ISO? Should be something like that takes a centralized body that governs a lot of these things, so there's more standardization and common base.
Can I take the lead?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, please.
So
Close your heart.
as I mentioned, now I don't think that this is a simple answer that can a global body take a lead and have an effective ethical AI as we all seem to want, and it is the need of the hour. It's going to be multi-layered, if I may say so. There is, of course, it's going to flow from the government. Government has to be very clear as to its vision, what it's achieved, where it is today, and where does it want to go. So it has to be on top of the things. It has to lay down the basic principles, or I can say the kind of maybe a framework. The actual doer in this, as we know, because sometimes government may not be, for whatever reasons, or I won't say only technical competency, or maybe layered or bureaucracy or whatever, may not be very quick with implementation. Private sector, we know because of obvious reasons, which I will not state here, is very quick on the implementation. Public sector to also a large extent, because PSUs and things which are taking the lead, we've seen in India and earlier in some of the other regions. But the private sector, the implementation is much quicker. But here comes the catch-22. It is much faster, but what about the conflict with profits, with monetary, with, we all know, in a private organization or even a public, we've all got our KPIs. We've got a career ladder for each one of us. Here we are where we need to go. So we need to meet. We may not necessarily, they may not match our standards or our culture internal, but we need to work within a given organizational culture, which may contradict with the ethics of AI. It happens. Finally comes bodies like the UN and other enforcing bodies, which, yes, may not be very effective. We've seen this current scenario, but I would still say we cannot say that we don't need them or the globe doesn't need them. We do. And bodies like OECD or G7 or UN body that lays down a framework which is open for discussion, adoption, and change as per the region's sovereignty, keeping, yes, the government vision in mind. So it has to be multi-layered. as per me, that it can't be that it's not multi-layered. And I would just like to close with one that I think the question today is not so much that can we have a governance, an AI global governance, but can we really beat this AI fast enough that we develop? We have a global system with just the guidelines, at least, before the AI actually overtakes us, because human is the one who's making it, and we are the ones who's going to be orchestrating or making it throughout. So we can't shed off our responsibility. Can we have a regulation that can work in collaboration with government, public, private? That's a question which maybe, yeah, you can also answer, and everybody can put their mind. It
No,
bothers.
that's an important point, because keeping the non-profit, the profit segment is a very important aspect, especially with the ubiquity of AI. Keeping it out of profit is critical, just like how central banks are non-profit. If the central banks look at start making money, then we'll have economic disasters. So this body has to be non-profit. And when I look at some of the Bill of Rights in the US and the AI policy and the things in the UAE and Middle East and EU, all of those seem to be leaning around that. So as a closing thing, if you take 60 seconds, Abdul, what is some suggestion that you have on this topic? How do we really one takeaway for this?
My one takeaway would, like I said, that it has to be a collaboration, which we are actually seeing. I do see it happening in this region, which I'm living in, and I have been here 20 years, that there are these forums, and not just forums, but definitive events and actual missions which result in industry-led projects. That is a collaboration that I am seeing with the government. It flows from the government, and the industry is very strongly aligned with it, and it's a part of that policy. It's not just brought in later as a funding body, or we all know sponsorships and things. No, not that, but when you are making these basic principle of an ethical AI as to how it's going to help all of us, it's going to help society, it's going to help government, it's going to help industry. I am actually seeing this, I would say, happening currently in the region. And that is what I feel is one of the ways only forward, because it cannot be enforced from top. That's not mine. I don't think so.
Perfect. So Abdul, do you have any closing thoughts on that?
Yeah. From my perspective, I do agree with Subla that it requires, for example, human collaboration with AI, and then working closely the private sector with the or public sector to form a specific framework regulation based on the region, country, a part of the global standardization. On the other hand, when it comes to the AI, absolutely, like it gives the organization the chance to move faster and work maybe smarter. But when it comes to the long-term success, we will come from like using it in a way that should build the trust with the people. So again, once we build the trust within the people or the customer, the adoption will increase, and slowly it will start adding more values to organization and to individual and so on. So, and this is again will be something for the leadership, like leadership focus. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Abdul, Subaila. Unfortunately, we couldn't have Nazar in this call. I think he probably had some technical issues. So Shiba, it's over to you for the spin.
Yeah, Women Lead Congress, I would request you to run the spin wheel for the winner.
Okay, People winner from Fadwa. Okay, a wonderful person to get that session from. Do we have one more spin or just that?
Yeah, there is no spin for
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Then you can introduce Mr.
Okay.
Drupad.
Thank you so much. Before and one wonderful session. I really appreciate all the insights. And thanks Abdul, thanks Subaila, and thanks Nazar.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
thank you. Thank you, Abdul.
Yeah.
Love to connect
thank
with
you,
you.
Subaila.
Thanks, Giri.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Gary.
thank you.
Thank you, Shiva.
I would
Thank
love
you
to
all.
connect. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
likewise. Cheers.
So before I introduce the next moderator, Dr. Drupad Mathur, we have the Ethos Verse AI, the AI companion. Just download that and give it a shot. Dr. Drupad, it's over to you.